Oh, this is Jack Keeler coming to you live today from the heart of Dixie. And yes, there is trouble in the land. And I'm going to be talking to you as a watchman on the wall. All these programs that I'll have, you won't want to miss any of them. Because I'm going to tell you things that the government's doing behind your back. I want to tell you things that are going on spiritually. Things that, that the Bible talks about the last days. And I'm going to have programs to tell you what to do in times of trouble. Matter of fact, I have a CD on that now. It's almost 2 hours that you'll probably like to get. And you just say anything you want to, 100% of it goes to the Lord. Well, if it's large or small, whatever it is, it goes to help people, radio and things like that. Now, I want to get started today. Mike Evans prophesied, which he's a well-known Mike Evans in on television ministry. He had a program that was, and he prophesied to Benjamin Netanyahu that he would be prime minister of Israel twice before he was even in politics. So he wasn't even a politician at the time. He received Benjamin Netanyahu yet also received another prophecy, not to divide Israel, or he would lose the next election. Well, which he did because he tried to make a peace treaty between the Palestinians and Clinton, President Clinton at the time. So the next time he lost the election, but the prophecy was that he would come back and be elected again, a second time. So yet he had a third prophecy, and this end of the prophecy was that he would be prime minister during the time of the third temple, which was built in Jerusalem. Now, I don't know, this should mean a great deal to you. President Trump, as you know, and his son-in-law, or ex-son-in-law today, is making plans for a peace treaty between the Palestinians and Israel. And Benjamin Netanyahu is planning to go ahead, and I don't know. I hope he don't give land away. I hope our president don't give land away, because God has said, if you divide my land, I'll divide your land, and this could cause America to be divided. I don't know. I'll take just a minute, and I'll come back another time and explain it. But there's a prophecy about the dread fault coming down the Mississippi line. And a man that a well-known minister saw that, and he said that there were 5 Great Lakes in the north in Michigan that were broke loose. Said they come down that river, and said they turned the Mississippi River back. Said he stood on one side and it was an ocean. Said he couldn't even see the other side. So we hope that don't happen. We don't need America divided, but we'll see what happens on the scene. All right. Now this also means that the Antichrist would appear on the scene, because the Bible specifically says it's only prophecy that gives a time limit on it. But it said when this is signed, the peace treaty, it will last for 7 years before Armageddon. 7 years, and you can't. I'm not saying you put this on a certain day. You can't do that. But 7 years means that the Battle of Armageddon, the last battle, when Israel is about to be defeated and half the people are destroyed, Israel Jesus will come back on the Mount of Olives at that time and save Israel, and all of Israel shall be saved. They'll say, "Are you our Messiah?" And he says, "Yes, I'm your Messiah, Yeshua, HaMashiach, Jesus, our Messiah." And so we will start this last 7 years. So you watch for that when they sign the peace treaty to restore the temple. Okay? Soon there'll be a great trouble around Israel and surrounding countries. Well, that's taking place today. God said this would take place in the last days. Damascus, Syria, will possibly be destroyed by a nuclear bomb from Israel. And we don't know if it's Israel. But God said that Damascus, Syria would be completely destroyed because it was just the word. It was God's prophecy that they would be destroyed, and said that nobody would ever live in that land again. I said they would become skeletons, which sounds like an atomic bomb to me. So there'll be a time that Damascus will be completely destroyed, and nobody will live there again, at least till after the millennium, the 1,000 years. All right, now this is possibly talking to you. This is probably refers to the Psalms 83 war, which was be fought during this time, because all the Muslims will be saying, "Let us destroy Israel as a nation." I believe that the Prime Minister, or the Minister of Israel now, Putin, will be the one that will lead this army. It said Israel will lead this army with all the Middle East countries, and when they do, they come on the mountains of Israel, and God said He would destroy the people. Well, this may be somewhat of the end of the Muslim faith, because they're going to see that God is God, and He will destroy them when they come against Israel. And God said it, and it always happens. This is exactly what God said. Now, the Star of Bethlehem, this might be something of interest to you. The Star of Bethlehem says that, that the last time that star was seen was 2,000 years ago, when the wise men came and followed it to the stables where Jesus was born, or to the home where He was at that time. The scientists all say that just recently, as a matter of fact, it was June the 30th, 2015, and I believe that was on a Tuesday night, that the Star of Bethlehem was seen over Israel. Okay, that would be a sure sign to me that Jesus is coming soon. There will be signs in the heaven, the stars, and we'll cover all these in some of the programs, God willing. So time as we know it is about to run out. Time is short. God said that He would reveal Himself to the prophets. And they all say the same thing, that the time is almost over. These are the last days, and we will be covering some of this in some other meetings that we'll have, other programs. God said that knowledge would increase in the last days. Well, when I was young, we had a phone that had 5, or sometimes it'd have 7 or 8 people on one line. Oh, somebody's always listening in on you because they want to know what's going on, busybodies. Well, if they'd have told us back during that time, we'd have all this internet and all this stuff and little phones we could walk around in our pocket, and about 100 or maybe 1,000 other things that's been invented, we would have laughed at them. But today is that day that God was talking about, that knowledge would increase. Now, He was not only talking about in the natural, He was also talking about spiritual. Because see, we have learned a lot of things today concerning the coming of the Lord that was not known to the people. See, the first church, first 100 years, they thought the Lord would come back at that time as a military soldier and restore. But that wasn't what it was about. It was about salvation, that the Lord went to the cross for your sins and for mine. And if we turn Him away, we are eternally lost. We'll cover that in a little bit. This means that not only natural but spiritual things that we'll learn. Brother Rick Joyner he took over Heritage USA after Brother Jim Baker left, and he saw a vision of people coming across the Mexican border, many at one time. He said they were even worse. Some of them were ISIS, and some of them was even worse than ISIS. He saw hundreds of our school children killed in a very brutal way, and others killed in different places. We hope that this does not happen. We hope that this does not happen. But if it does, then then the government will want to build a wall to keep people out of America from Mexico. Our president is trying his best today to get that done. So far, I'm not a party person, never belonged to any party, but I know the Democrats are against They are certainly against building a wall. The Democrat Party is for homosexuals. The Republicans is not. The Democrats are for gay marriages. The Democrats are for murdering our children. Our president wants to stop that because God said that he hated those that shed innocent blood. Now, if we've done this as an individual, God forgives us. I mean, we can go to the Lord in prayer. But as a nation, and we've killed maybe 60 million people that they know of, little babies, He's not going to overlook that. I don't care what somebody says. God is not going to overlook it. He said he would avenge those one day. And I think that day is getting short. People say that there's going to be a great revival. I don't know of anywhere in the Bible where there's a great revival before judgments came. I'm not saying that won't happen, but I believe from the scriptures that every revival we've had, the first church, they had a great revival, but many of them was killed. There was a lot of trouble in the land in that time, and I believe that's going to happen again in a very near future. We get into these things that go about these, talk about these in another program. But if this thing's happen, there'll be trouble in America. To close our borders. We talked about that. Now, many years ago, a young Catholic boy had a dream, and he saw people from the UN who wore blue hats in America. Now, that would mean, if this happens, that means that our government, the United States, would be a part of a one world government. And I don't believe that's going to happen. I certainly hope it don't. But that would mean if that happens that we'd be part of the UN. Now the UN wants to do one thing. They want a one world government, and they're in charge of it. They want a one religion, and they want to be in charge and tell you what kind of religion you can belong to. Theirs, not God's, but theirs. They want you to, they want to control you. They want one army, and this one army will simply rule the world. They say they want one army won't fight itself. But this will be a one world government, and they'll tell the people what to do. If they ever get control of America, they'll be in charge. America won't be in charge. But we pray to God that you pray that this won't happen. I believe that if we keep a good president in, somebody that loves the Lord, I believe that we'll be able to continue to be a partner with Israel. If we can see, if we work with Israel, God will bless America. But I have to have other programs that go into these things, and we'll try to do these one behind the other. They'll be like 28.5-minute programs. And if you don't have time to listen to them, all you got to do is send me a letter. Make any gift you want to. It all goes to the work of the Lord and this kind of work, radio and things. And I'll send you a CD on the program where you won't have to take up time to watch it or do your waste your time or take up your time on your program. Today, let me just tell you, that in case you want this, the day of this program, this is entitled, The End of This Generation. The End of This Generation. Okay? Now, that means that they would be, like I said, they'd be in control of America. He said he saw these people from the UN that would have, they'd be, at every state, they'd have borders checks set up. And but I hope that this was an Eden dream. I mean, I really don't want this to happen to America. Don't want it to happen to anybody, matter of fact. But now this is something, I'm going to give you a scripture. Most of you ain't going to agree with this at all. I mean, understand that. But you can either agree with the word or you can believe what you want to believe. You can believe church doctrine, you can believe what the Bible says. Now, I'm going to do a whole program sometime on this, and it'll probably take, we might have to take an hour to do it. couple of programs when the Lord will return. But this is just a little something. I'm just putting a little something at you right now. Let me see if I can find my notes right here on second coming of the Lord. But anyhow, if you'll read over in 2 Thessalonians, I believe it's the second chapter, you'll find that it is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 8. I had to find my notes. I misplaced them for a moment. All right, 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 through 8 tells us that the Antichrist will be revealed before, not after, but before Jesus comes. I know most of you think it's going to happen another, but go 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, 3 through 8, and it says the Antichrist will be revealed before Jesus comes, okay? Then Jesus himself said, and I know you're not going to like this, but somebody will. But Jesus said himself in red letters in Revelations 24, 29 through 31, he said he would come back. If you'll read that, he said, I'm coming back, after, after the tribulation. He said, and now you can read that in Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic, and it all says the same thing, that he's coming back after the tribulation. The Bible plenty teaches that the church will not go through the wrath of God, and we will cover that sometime in our program. We miss the wrath, but we don't miss times of trouble. The first church didn't miss no trouble. They went through a lot. They're going through it today. You might say, well, they're not killing nobody in America. Well, they're killing people over in the Middle East. There's not many Christians left because the Muslims are killing them, and they behead them, just like we'll talk about in the Bible sometime, where it said in the last days that they would behead the people. And that's what they're doing today. And these troubles, I don't know. I hope they don't come to America. When the Bible teaches that the Antichrist, when he takes his seat, he will have power over all the earth, and buying and selling. That's the reason I tell people we want to have a message. I've got a thing. It's an hour, no, 2 hours almost, and it's called Trouble in the Land. Trouble in the Land. But what it is, it says not trouble in the land, but it says what to do before times of trouble. What to do before times of trouble. If you want to write me and let me, and just send anything, I'll send you a CD on that. And what this is, it teaches that, people say, well, I get a couple of weeks of food. Well, what about 3.5 years worth full of food if it lasts that long? In 3 or 4 days, you're dead. You and your whole family are going to die in 3 or 4 days. If you don't do something. And I'll tell you, I got some drums set around my house. I got several hundred gallons of rainwater. I go to Walmart's and I go to the bakery and they got a 3 and a 5 gallon. Get the 5 gallon buckets. They don't always have them every day, but they got where they put frosting in them. All right, they clean them up. You get them for $1. If you bought $100 over a period of time worth of buckets, you'd have 500 gallons of water. That means you're not going to die. You can't even flush your toilet without some water. You'll have a lot of sanitary problems. You'll be dead in 3 or 4 days. You need this CD that I have. It tells you what to do before times of trouble. Let me just give you my mailing address right now, and we're going to go on with the program here. We've got a lot more to say today, but my mailing address is Jack Keeler. That's Keeler. P.O. Box 28, Boaz, B-O-A-Z, Alabama, 35957. That's Jack Keeler, Keeler. P.O. Box 28, Boaz, B-O-A-Z, Alabama, and the zip is 35957. And I also have a program you can get into. Some of it. It's a YouTube called, go to YouTube, Trouble in the Land by Jack Keeler. It's called YouTube, Trouble in the Land by Jack Keeler. Now you won't get me if you don't spell my name right. It's Jack and the name is Keeler. YouTube, Trouble in the Land by Jack Keeler. and you can pick up a lot of my information that way, or you can just, you know, might not have a lot of time to do these things, so you might want to just write for them. I'll send you a CD, just of any of these programs. Now, there was a man, there's a prophet named David Wilkerson. Now, David Wilkerson, he lived up in New York area, and he was a man that taught about the days that we're living in, and it was very unpopular at the time because he talked about trouble in the land. All right, he was a great prophet, and like he spoke of our days, which made him very unpopular in his day. He said he saw 1,000 fires in New York at one time. That's at one time. I believe this will happen in the near future. So be ready. There's trouble in the land. 1,000 fires. Judgment's coming to New York. It's coming to a lot of places. Come to California. Come to other places. We'll get into that future broadcast. All right. Like I said, he saw 1,000 fires at one time in New York City. He said the first thing that would happen, a sign that the oil fields in the Middle East would burn. He said that would be a sign of these 1,000 fires. If you remember, this has already happened in Kuwait. The oil fields were set on fire. Now, God's time is different from ours, and He may take a few years to get to do something, and we'd want to do it right away, but God has a time plan, and on this time plan, everything will fall into place. Nothing's going to be put off. Nobody's going to pray it off. Things are going to fall just like Jesus said. And the days are short. The days are short. He said this would cause the stock market to collapse. There'd be a great economy disaster that would follow. And he said all nations would fall after that. In other words, when America, if our money is not any good, and we're in financial trouble now, we're $21 billion in debt now. So when this happens, other countries, like a domino effect, will come, and these other countries will be they'll lose their money. There'll just be a disastrous time for the world. They'll be great, and this would cause great inflation, in the land. Great inflation. What costs you $100 now may cost you $1,200 at the store. If you can buy it, you better go today. You go to Walmart and get you 25 pound, 50 pound of rice for $9 or something. Get some stuff to go over the rice, and I mean, you need to put up stuff now. You need to. Here's what God said you are. He said you're just like it was in the days of Noah. He said in the days of Noah, nobody would do nothing, nobody would listen, nobody believed. But let me tell you, 1 minute after the flood came, everybody went on the boat. They couldn't get on there. God said, you know, you're happy. You're happy as long as Walmart's open. All right, you be happy. But when it closes, where are you going to go? What you going to do? You better do it today. You better do it now. You better get my CD about 2 hours on what to do before trouble comes. You'll need to know what it says. It'll help you and your family. And if you don't, you're going to be like the rest of them in Noah's time. You ain't going to have no boat. But I'm going to give you a boat if you'll help me. I've got it. I got a boat. Send for it. Trouble before. What to do before times of trouble. But here's one thing: when a nation is weak, their enemies take their enemies will take over. The enemies will attack America. I think we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. 3 minutes. So I'm going to try to hurry here. But you know, our enemies will take over when they'll try to attack the American things during this time. All right, there's been a great drought in California at this time. I mean, there's a lot of things that's going on that I just don't have time to finish here. There'll be earthquakes in California. Russia's sending 300 missiles right away to Iran. It means Israel's going to have to fight before long. There's going to be trouble in the land. This is Jack Keeler, and I'm just telling you, if you're lost, you know, if you're lost and you're undone, that's more important than anything, because you're either on the wide road. If you're on the wide road, you do anything you want to do, you go to hell. If you're on the narrow road, you can make it to heaven. You can't play with God and play with the world at the same time. You can't do it. You're either going to live for God and go to heaven, or you're going to live on the right road and go to hell. This is Brother Jack, and I'm telling you, to get a hold of all these that I do is going to be a real blessing to you. God told me to be a watchman for you, and that's what I'm doing. And now our program for today is coming to an end. I'm glad you listened in. I've got much more information you'll need to know. Now, this is Brother Jack saying goodbye for now until next time. God bless.